The virus Covid-19 has spread over the world. People panic, escape, and do their best to protect themselves from the pandemic. The virus originates from China, from city Wuhan. This virus is moving very rapidly. During a few weeks, it embraced almost all of the countries throughout the world. The scientists estimate that without special behavior, it is going to overtake 60–70% of the world's population. The duration of invention of vaccination will last at least 2 years. Humans must face a cataclysm on a huge scale. It changes our lives in an unprecedented extent, and it will leave many habits, changes and ideas. How to survive it? What to do and not to do. The virus is a leak from Chinese lab. In China there are 2 bioweapon research labs where, for example, diseases as Ebola and anthrax are analyzed. First is located in Beijing, the capital of China. And the second? Where is located the second? Guess where? Yeah, you got it. You probably guessed right. In Wuhan, epicenter of pandemic. Quick after sickening over 70,000 people, Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, negated the theory of leaking from lab. But the very next day, evidence emerged suggesting that this is exactly what happened, as the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology released a new directive titled Instructions of Strengthening Biosecurity Management in Microbiology Labs that handle advanced viruses like the novel coronavirus. We must also mention another fact. Some Chinese researchers tend to sell their laboratory animals to street vendors after finishing with experiments on them. A law requires to utilize infected animals using cremation, but Chinese researchers prefer earn some extra money instead and sell them to random people. One of Beijing researchers ended up in jail. The verdict referred to selling animals like monkeys or rats on the live animal market. It's estimated that he made $1 million doing it. Finally, somebody got food poisoning because of it, and greedy scientist got imprisoned. Add to this China's history of similar incidents. The deadly SARS virus has escaped twice from the Peking lab where it was and probably is being used in experiments. Both man-made epidemics were quickly contained. According to well-known theory, the virus comes from bats that were dealt in the market in Wuhan. The genome of humans comply with genome of bats in 96%. Chinese authorities threatened Li Wenliang, the doctor who first discovered an appearance of the virus. He was forced to understand the form in which he admitted that he spread disinformation and everything what he said is a lie. He was one of the first doctors who was interested in mysterious pneumonia. He was warned by policemen to limit his illegal actions and railroaded to pave the truth of the virus over. Eventually, he got permission to continue his job because the epidemic has been so fast that caused real trouble for healthcare. Li Wenliang died of coronavirus on February 20, 2020.
He's the hero of China. So even me. So I'm so proud of him. He told people the truth. So and then he passed away. I think in the second day, and in Wuhan and some other cities, and they held a short morning memory and just raised the mobile phone, turn on the light, and show this for a couple minutes, and then go back to work.
USA and UK want to earn on vaccination. When news of the virus spread around Europe, all countries in solidarity decided to put themselves in the highest degree of readiness and take the quarantine. They limited all tourist, gastronomic and entertainment activities. The only country that refused to take action against the epidemic immediately was Great Britain, arguing that it wants the population to pass the virus naturally. We would like to remind you that 3% of the population is doomed to absolute death, while also a great part of those affected by the virus will be doomed to treatment requiring oxygen connection. To such a state will be condemned over 15% of humanity on the assumption that over 70% of humanity will be infected. No country can afford it, so deaths will be much more in the absence of equipment. As we take a closer look in Great Britain, it operates the Bright laboratory there, which is founded by the British government and the American Bill Gates Foundation Wellcome Trust. For the uninformed, Bill Gates is quitting Microsoft, claiming that he prefers to devote himself to charity and focus on antiviral research, saving the world and preventing global warming. Let us also mention that the US is trying to buy the drug from a German laboratory to have it exclusively. President Donald Trump was to offer $1 billion to a German biopharmaceutical company, CureVac, from Tübingen, for the drug formula. Germany is not for sale, said German Economy Minister Peter Altmaier. Both Bill Gates and Trump belong to the Bilderberg Group and are the most influential people in the world. They share common interests. If we consider the fact that Great Britain left the EU on January 31, just before the outbreak of the epidemic, and how willingly they wanted to succumb to the virus, and how closely they cooperate with the US, it may indicate that they have the vaccine, on that they plan to get it exclusively and make money on it. If we additionally look at the Google patents, then we will see that the Wuhan virus vaccine already has active status and has been patented by the Americans. Covid-19 is a biological weapon. According to Gholam Reza Jalali, head of Iranian civil defense organization, coronavirus is a part of hybrid warfare program waged by the United States and Israel on Iran and China. There was even a letter from the former president of Iran sent to the United Nations in which he states it is obvious that COVID-19 was produced in a laboratory to create chaos in global markets. Equally appear theories in the Arab world that Jews and Zionists plan neuter world's population or introduce a vaccine that would sterilize humanity. Chemical and biological weapons were outlawed by the Geneva Protocol of 1925. But Chinese accuse USA of using that weapons during Korean War. What is more, it is believed that United States of America wanted to get the revenge for losing trade war. So the war, which began in 2019, in which both countries started to set tariffs and other barriers in trade on each other. One of Indian scientists stated that the virus has common protein sequence with elements of high IV, the virus that causes AIDS, so it could be from this virus invented. Another conspiracy theory says that COVID-19 is a bioweapon engineered by the CIA. Chinese foreign minister challenges truthfulness of United States because of not being enough clear with the data of infected people in United States of America. When did patient zero begin in United States? How many people are infected? What are the names of the hospitals? It might be US Army who brought the epidemic to Wuhan. Be transparent. Make public your data. United States owe us an explanation. In addition, Chinese Global reports on a petition on the White House website for publication of information regarding the closure of a laboratory in Fort Detrick near Washington. Chinese internet users have suspicions about the date of the closure of this facility, which coincided with the outbreak of the epidemic. Although it is almost clear that the virus has its epicenter in Wuhan, some Chinese claim that Americans brought coronavirus to Wuhan with them. How they did it? On 2019 in Wuhan took place 2019 Military World Games. Military World Games is a sports event that takes place regularly from 1995 every 4 years. It gathers soldiers from different countries and enables them to participate in disciplines which we can see during normal Olympic Games. It was noticed that American soldiers were not in a very good form and they were not very well prepared. According to many people, it was not just a coincidence. They were tired because they were to leave the virus at the human seafood market, contending that a new type of biological warfare is coming. "5G causes a virus." On November the 1st, almost at the same time when the epidemic began, 5G was launched in Wuhan. Scientists observing the growing public health crisis after the launch of the commercial 5G network immediately found Plan B that could cover up people's response to the new technology. The bioengineering coronavirus causes surprisingly similar symptoms to syndrome in patients with electromagnetic hypersensitivity. It was recalled that China has made the development of the 5th generation network a key national goal. The authorities indicated that they want to achieve national 5G coverage faster than other countries, and last year they began to pressure operators to speed up implementation.
Of Science and Technology here has announced that it's setting up 2 working groups to essentially push forward the R&D for 6G technology.
There were 10,000 5G base stations opened in Wuhan. The waves recorded in Wuhan are several times larger than the norm indicates. WHO will issue an accurate opinion about the harmfulness of 5G waves only in 2022. Only then we will find out what exactly this technology has on us. When superimposed, the waves generate high-power radiation. Africa is not a 5G region. Even though dozens of cases have been confirmed in South Africa, Ethiopia, Egypt and other countries on the continent. Some experts told in CNN that the African countries could get hit the hardest by the virus. The Covid-19 coronavirus epidemic significantly influenced opportunities of building 5G infrastructure because the epidemic of the outbreak, the still quarantined city of Wuhan, houses key factories and headquarters for 2 of the leading optical fiber manufacturers. These are the components necessary to build a 5G network. The current crisis developed due to a disease so-called 5G syndrome. 5G syndrome is a relatively new disease that has not yet been included in the mainstream because its diagnosis would immediately stop the ongoing implementation of 5G technology. WHO does not consider it as a disease. It is also worth mentioning that Chinese have raised 2 hospitals in Wuhan in under just 2 weeks. The part of personnel is replaced with robots. Surveillance too. If we look at what is happening around us, we will see that people have started paying by card for fear of the virus, which means that the flow of money is visible. Phone tracking, through which we see the path of people infected with the virus. Prohibition to leave the house, controlled by smartphones. Face recognition system in China, curfew hours, entrance bans to cities, house arrests. Snowden reminds us that although we are all aware that such surveillance systems have been illegally active for many years, we have mostly been able to legally defend against them and protect them using various software and applicable laws. Now the surveillance machine is to become fully legal under the guise of fighting coronavirus, and we will not be able to legally defend against it with any tools. Snowden is also afraid that people who have so far fought for public awareness in this area will be now stigmatized in the media, for example punished and described as a threat to society. In China, South Korea and Japan a month ago, when the peak incidence of Covid-19 was recorded there, applications appeared that tracked all infected people and warned the rest of the public about them. Negotiations have already been launched between the leaders of the countries and the owners of companies such as Google or Facebook to protect the acquisition of citizens' data to provide them with better protection. In South Korea, the government tracks the cell phones of all people at risk of infection, and the locations of COVID-19 patients or suspected of being carriers can be viewed on a publicly available map. The Korean administration also collects information from payment cards and interviews conducted with patients. All this to make the map available to the inhabitants of the country as detailed and current as possible. The British The Guardian estimates that Seoul's efforts to limit the spread of the epidemic are more frightening than coronavirus alone and can lead to stigmatization of sick people in society. In Israel, modeled on South Korea, a system will be introduced to send SMS to the person who was near the infected person. Besides, it was called the Jewish secret counterintelligence Shin Bet to fight with the virus. Violation of quarantine regulation is punishable by a 6-month prison sentence. Let's sum up the theories we have mentioned already. The virus is the leak from lab. The virus is a bioweapon invented by United States or China. USA and Great Britain possess a vaccination and have a scope to earn on it. The new technology 5G causes a virus. The virus is a tool of surveillance, and it gives an excuse to extend it. Let me know in comments what do you think about these conspiracy theories. Please leave comments, leave like if you found this video interesting, and subscribe.